Yeah, so you're talking about how, working at yourself or training yourself, you're feeling, or training clients now, you're beginning to see that your intensity is increasing training yourself.
Yeah, definitely.
Because you said like you can see how you said, you want to say it again?
Yeah, so like when you're watching somebody clearly do 10 reps of a weight that they can do for 15, you know that they're not getting the most out of that set. So like being aware of somebody else when they're doing it, and then going back to your own workout, once you have like the app in front of you, it makes you like, be like, oh, well, if I'm telling these people to do it, then I gotta like go harder, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. And so what you're talking about is rate of perceived exertion, right? Basically your RPE is lower if you're only hitting 10, but you got 10 and 5 in the bank.
Yeah.
And really, providing the form and technique is good. That's always like the precursor. Then you want to leave 1 to 2. You can safely leave 1 to 2 reps in the bank and consistently gain muscle. Which is what lifting is do. Lifting doesn't like lose fat, but we just know that the more muscle tissue you have, the more metabolically active muscle tissue is, which is going to cause us to lose fat long term. If you want to gain muscle, yes, you have to challenge the nervous system and the musculoskeletal system, and you're not going to do that with 5 in the bank, at all. So you want to do that with it. And then when it comes to progressive overload, you were saying that you like this program, so you think we're doing it for 12 weeks. And I was like, oh, maybe 8 weeks, because you can't progressively overload consistently for 12 weeks. 8 I think is really at the top of it.
Okay.
And then you had said, like, what about tempo? Well, when you're in a program, you have to predetermine what is the progressive overload.
Oh.
So because you can increase intensity by slowing down the tempo, right? So decreasing tempo. You can do it by increasing weight, right? You can do it by creating supersets. You can decrease it by decreasing the rest time. So based on the philosophy or the theory you're going into that program, then whatever those 4 things are, you need to stay fairly stable. So if I know my goal is to increase muscle, right? So I want to trigger hypertrophy. I want to increase the amount of time my muscle is under tension, right? So I can do that by keeping a tempo at a slower tempo, meaning maybe a 3 to 4 seconds at least on the eccentric, right? Versus if I'm doing power, then I'm gonna, it's gonna be a short tempo because I can't run to, that's not power. I didn't even, but I shouldn't be doing power until I master, really good form and technique, because I'm gonna injure myself, So you figure out, okay, for this routine or for this program within this routine within the program, this is gonna be my tempo on this exercise. Because different exercises, you may have different tempos. Right. But you may say, hey, I'm gonna get 3 seconds, eccentric, no hold at the bottom, and 2 seconds on the concentric. Or you may say 3, 1, or 3, 2, 2. You may figure out like this is the tempo that this exercise is gonna have, period. And then now from there you go, I'm gonna do 10 reps. And then you go, okay, cool, 10's easy, right? I can increase, I'm gonna push myself, and I wanna push myself still, especially for the first 2 weeks, because your RPE is not clear in the first 2 weeks. So what you want to do is people always go, how much weight should I lift? I'm like, I can't tell you how much weight you should lift because there's so many subjective pieces in there. Where you benched, if I do push-ups and then I had you bench, you may not bench as much. Or if it was a superset, right? But if I do push-ups and you took a minute break and you benched more, right. So if your warm-up wasn't effective, then you won't feel good pushing in the bench until your 3rd set. Because you got to get the synovial fluid there, the muscle-mind connection, the muscle pump. You got all these things that you need to get locked in before you're actually going for working sets.
Right.
So it takes about 2 weeks for you to be like, all right, I did the consistent warm-up, and I did this consistent routine, and I'm just going till I feel like I can only do 2 more. And then you go, okay, I did 18 of those. All right, clearly it's too light. let me start increasing the weight on the next set. Ideally, you have between 2 to 5 minutes before you hit that muscle group again.
Right.
So you restore ATP and you go after it and you get a 10% increase. You know, and then you're like, oh, okay, cool, I can get 15. You know, okay, cool. I'm gonna come back through again on my third set, I can get 12. All right, and notice that 10 next week, I'm gonna start at that weight, and that's gonna be my first one, and see what, no, you don't stop at 12 because you did 12, you stop at 1 or 2 in the bank. But then you don't change that tempo, and if you follow that philosophy, then within 6 weeks of increasing weight, providing you can get to that within like 2, like you can hit and exceed the allotted reps, you know, by 2 with good form. Well, you're not going to constantly increase that. So if you were 100 pounds, just an easy math, well, 10% now we went to 110. A 10% is 11 pounds increase. There's no 11 pound plates, right? So we went to 120. The 10% is 12. So if you're like most of us, you just go, I'll go 135. Then you drop to the bottom of the rep range, and you work your way through to get to the top. You know, but you're not going to get in that one start. You're not going to start at 10 and finish 8 weeks or 12 weeks above. You know, because your body will just go, okay, cool, we're doing bench today. And what you're fighting against is your body's desire to create homeostasis. Because your body will just cheat. You know, you use a little bit more triceps, you use a little bit less energy. We know we stop at around 8 or 10. You know, you just stop versus, you know, in 8 weeks you switch it up. And then you put in a new stressor, even in maybe similar lifts. Meaning you go from a flat bench to an incline bench. Or you do, you know, flies in bench. You do other things that trigger the same muscle groups, but slightly different. You mess with your tempo this time. You know, so I put on like 20 pounds of muscle, roughly, and my weights, I don't think I benched over 300 pounds. And the reason, and that's kind of like, it's a lot, period, but for my size, a lot of guys my size were repping 315, but I didn't go heavy. I just was like, okay, we're doing 4 seconds on the extension. And I did that for 6 weeks. Then I switched it up. And then I was like, all right, we're gonna do 3 seconds, you know, here we're 2 seconds up. And I kept on playing around with the intensity, you know, messing around with this load that my body's experiencing.
How do you feel about pyramid sets?
Like 1, take a break, 2, or work your way from 10 down?
Like your first big compound lift, it'll be 15 reps for the first one, go a little heavy on the second one, go for 12 reps, 10, and then 8, and then like, so it's the perfect balance between hypertrophy and endurance and also strength, because like on the last set, you'll be hitting like a weight for 6.
I think it's not really a big strength compensation, like, you know, equivalent, because it's not that I got stronger through that time frame. I just fatigued. It's volume. I'm hitting massive amounts of volume.
Well, you can start at the top too.
But if I start at 6 reps, right? But I'm only hitting the 6 reps once, and I'm still chasing volume for the rest. Because the reality, if I'm going 6 at my 8 RPE or 10 RPE, you can't do 10 RPE without a spotter. Because you got no reps in the tank, that thing's gonna come back on your face. You know what I mean? So, you know, unless I was at my 8 RPE for 6, there's no way I can lift that same weight for 8 reps.
You wouldn't, you drop it down.
You know, so I have to drop down, so now I'm chasing volume.
Yeah, so you would drop down.
But then I'm chasing volume because it's about total reps on that muscle. Now I think it's great as my finisher, or just something fun to do. You know, but if you go back and say, okay, I want to see, am I stronger 8 weeks from now from doing the pyramid, you'll notice that I'm not much stronger. Because I never exceeded, I don't start back next week. There's no stressor that says, hey, next week, you know, I should start that 6 rep max at a higher weight. And psychologically, you went down in weight, but now the bar is like your 1 rep max because your muscles are just fatigued. But it doesn't increase your top number if you start at 6. It didn't increase your top number at that 6 rep max. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
You just feel fatigued because you're burning through stuff. You figure when you do pyramids, right, you don't recover. You know, because you're not doing, okay, I'll do 6, and then I'm gonna do some leg stuff, I'm gonna do some other body parts, and then I come back and I do 8, or I work my way down to 1, whatever order I choose to go to.
Right.
Normally I do a pyramid, it's at the end of a workout, and I'm doing 10. All right, cool, let's drop the weight. All right, we do 8, let's drop the weight. All right, we're gonna do 9, drop the weight, and we just work down the pyramid or the ladder. And I think those are cool, and those are great ways to get through breakthroughs. So I like it if I did 3 sets, and then that 3rd set, I also did drop the pyramid on it. But I normally only do 3 drops, so it's drop sets. You know, I only do 3 drops. You know, but I'll do that 3rd set. So I went from my 12 rep max. I was at 185. I went from my 12 rep max. Boom. All right. Took a quick breather, no more than 30 seconds, and then now I'm gonna go for 175. And I'm gonna go for 165. Or I'm gonna use the same weight and just decrease my reps at that same weight. You know, and I want to drop. You know, typically I'll drop the weight as well, though.
Yeah.
But I'll drop the weight, and then I'm going after 3 drops. You know, and it's just a burnout. So it's really cool. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's fun.
You know, but it's a really cool burnout. But for like, if I'm going after, again, I have to figure out what I want. Am I going after maximum power, strength, or hypertrophy? If I'm going after hypertrophy, I throw that sucker into my workouts, and it's game on. I'm going to have to get bigger because I've increased the amount of time that muscle is stressed out. You know, and so you can do that back to back. But even if you ran a circuit, the last round in there, you do it in there. There's a great guy, Ben Pulowski, I think his last name, something like that, bodybuilder, and that was like a really big part of his program, where he was like, he'll go, you do 3 sets, whatever, and then you'll just do this, you do a drop set. And it'll burn, and then you got, drop twice, so drop 3 times, and it's like,
They're fun.
But if you struggle with getting through a wall, they're great, because when you change your program out, and you do that bench again, I'm just picking on the bench press, you realize that maybe what you thought was your 12 rep max is no longer, because you're able to recruit more energy than you thought you were able to. Because your body's now used to a higher level of stress. In there. And that's where, we're talking about really deep, way above where our clients are at.
Yeah.
But, that's where pre-workout nutrition and all those things matter, because you want to have access to carbohydrates. The best pre-workout nutrition is 20 grams of protein and maybe 30 grams of carbs at least pre-workout, and then when you go into your workout, your body can access the protein. What it does is just blunts the too much of a sugar spike, but your body, it will still grab at that glucose and use that glucose as readily forms of energy. And your body stores glucose as glycogen in your muscles, so your muscles say, hey, I want those first, especially because you're exerting energy. That's why runners do the gummies and all those kind of things, because they want quick access to energy. Then you want carbs that break down fast, so things like rice cakes, some people just use sugar packs, and all those kind of things. I don't know about the sugar packs for me personally, but honey, you can do honey. I've done that multiple times, and it gives me a nice little piece of energy. And this is without adding any a pre-workout mix. This is just giving your cells, because the difference between the pre-workout mix and pre-workout nutrition is you're playing the game at 2 different places. So typically a pre-workout mix is going to have a vasodilator, right? So it's going to expand your blood cells so you can get oxygen faster, right? And it's going to have some sort of caffeine in there, So that's going to give you this boost, because caffeine constricts, so it's going to push blood faster. So what matters though is what's in the blood. Basically, you went to the HOV lane is what a pre-workout does. But if you don't have a V6, you're driving a V4 car, you're in the HOV lane, but you just can't take it. For me getting up here today, I had somebody was pulling a boat in front of me, and in front of me was a truck. In the back row of the boat guy decided to go around the truck, so I followed him. When he cleared the truck, I dusted him. But I got a V6 in my vehicle, so I'm at 100 miles an hour like this. It was crazy because I'm driving at like 60 and 80. You know, I feel like I'm not even moving because I just finished hitting 100. You know? So, you know, having the right pre-workout nutrition allows you to get to 100. But if I was in a V4, especially the older ones that doesn't have that like electronic boost, you know, then I'm like, and I feel like I want to go back, I got nowhere to go. You know, and so your baseline nutrition makes a really big difference in, you know, how well you can execute. Then you can, you know, how do we relate this back to our clients? Because it's all about not just us, but our clients, right?
I'm trying to go and asking a million questions. How do you feel about this? How do you feel about this?
So let me get back to our clients and then we'll ask the question. So how do we relate it back to our clients is, you know, we have a client that seems like they're pushing themselves very well.
Yeah.
You know, but they're still not able to perform. Like they're just, you feel like, man, they can give more, but they're hitting their wall. They're hitting their wall too early in the workouts.
Yeah.
So then you go, okay, cool. What are you doing? What are you eating before the workout? Now, for most of our clients, the challenge with that traditional pre-workout thing that I told you about, right?
Yeah.
High carbs, a little bit of protein, is our clients are very insulin resistant, right? So spiking their carb intake is not going to benefit them a whole lot in there because they already have a resistance to insulin. Insulin is the hormone produced by pancreas whenever you eat carbohydrates. So we're trying to, because insulin gets your blood sugar down, so having them time that is a little dicey because, like, for us who are, you know, we don't have a challenge with glucose tolerance.
Right.
You know, our body's going to, there's only 2 ways to decrease your blood sugar, and because we're going to exercise at a good intensity, exercise is going to bring blood sugar down. But for them, insulin may be a thing that brings your blood sugar down. Hey, John, so we'll finish it there. So what we'll do for our clients then is instead they'll do like a pre-workout thing there because it doesn't have a lot of sugar in it. I don't think it has any sugar in it, but just a little. So they don't have to worry about the blood sugar spike. We got it down.